Hello and welcome to Football 301's fifth quarter, wild card weekend fifth quarter. 5 games we're going to go over from wild card weekend, each and every one, recapping it, highlighting it, breaking it down. To help me do that, as always on Sunday, is my guy, Charles McDonald. How you doing today, Mr. Verts?
I'm doing good. I went to Baltimore this weekend. I got to go see the Ravens Steelers game. I drank way too much nitro cold brew at like the third quarter. So I was up until like 4 o'clock in the morning watching The Empire Strikes Back, which was on TV. Okay. So, worst things to have happened. But then, I got back like 30 minutes before the Bills game and been locked in since then. I feel like I've had a better weekend than a lot of these teams, though,
Yeah. I tweeted this, but it feels like every time wildcard weekend or a divisional round, it's always like the warts get really highlighted. And I'm like, oh yeah, we definitely need to check that out this offseason. Like there's a lot of stuff I glossed over that I'm going to really talk about, put lip balm on, and it really highlighting, made it nice and glossy for us to check it out.
Our friend Richard Johnson, who works at CBS, quipped us pretty good today. He covers college football over there, and he was like, "Oh, it looks like the NFL needs to go back to the BCS, huh? Too many teams in the playoff." Which I'll agree yes to that. Do we need a 7 seed? I know it worked out this year. At least some
drives and quarters were entertaining at least. And then they maybe trickled away. Were the nitro cold brews, they were in stock at the stadium?
They have like a machine that you can pour yourself. Yeah. So I was just going back and over because I was really tired, and then I was wired out.
Because you thought it was Guinness.
Yeah.
No,
I wish.
All right, we're gonna do this in reverse. Reverse chronological order. We're gonna do this memento style. We're gonna go Commanders, Bucks to start this off. The game that just finished off before we started recording here. Commanders win another close one. They're not the cardiac cats. They're the cardiac commies. 23-20. Another late field goal, a little kiss off the upright to win the game for the Commanders. Late drive, a really nice run, short yardage run by Jayden Daniels to bounce off. Just always can kind of just get away. You can see he frustrates so many players. Kalijah Kancey had a really nice game, but he got through on that last one. You see he was so ticked off that they let that one up. Really fun game. Kind of thought we'd have some back and forthness in this, some sloppiness by the Bucks at the end. Kind of let this go. Baker Mayfield finished 15 and 18 for 185 yards with 2 touchdowns. Bucky Irving had a nice game, 77 yards. Mike Evans in the Marshawn Lattimore battle finished with 92 yards and 1 touchdown. Jayden Daniels finished with 260 yards, 2 touchdowns, 36 yards on the ground. Austin Eckler had some yards. Brian Robinson, they really... The run game was a little bit of a slog against this Bucs defense like we thought, but Diami Brown and Terry McLaurin both went off a little bit, 80-plus yards, both with the touchdown. Charles, thoughts on this game with the Commanders winning and moving on to the next round? First Commanders win in the playoffs since 2005. Snaps the 3rd longest streak in the NFL. Congrats, Commanders fans. Great year. But what did you think on this game, Charles?
I am so glad that I am not like a fan of either of these teams, because that would have been such a stressful game to watch. I mean, it felt like the entire game was played like only on high leverage downs for the most part. And we talked a bunch this season about the Commanders' third down production and how well they've played on third down. And this game, like, they needed those third downs. They but they had 20 plays on third or fourth down in this game. They had a success rate of 59% on those plays. Compared to first and second down, they had a success rate of 36.5%. So they weren't really getting too far on their first plays every drive, but third and fourth down, like, Jayden Daniels made some magic happen just about every single time, it seemed like. I mean, and the Bucs, on to their credit too, they were pretty good on third and fourth down in this game as well. They only ran like 9 plays to the Commanders' 20 in that scenario, but still, it was a very stressful game, fun game. The Bucs really screwed themselves at the end. I'm sure Baker Mayfield's kicking himself right now, especially for the fumble on the drive where they got the ball up 2017, about to drive, and they just kind of blew it up for themselves. That was pretty sloppy. Yeah,
botched handoff there, and then the short yardage one where Barton snapped it, and that looked like a little miscommunication, maybe a sneak, or maybe they are getting out of a sneak. Maybe they didn't know. Sometimes when that happens as a quarterback, when you change the play and maybe you go, hey, reset, rewind or something, you give a cadence. You go Monday, or Sunday, or Turbo, or Omaha, which means next sound. But I'm not sure what he said, what Baker Mayfield said. I haven't actually watched that back, but maybe he did not give it. And Barton was like, okay, it's next sound, because he already gave the blue 80. Okay, now we're going. And then Baker was like, well, I got to reset it, set HUD, blue 80, and he's just going to start on over. So I maybe thought that's what happened. But man, that's how playoffs kind of feels. It's just like those, like you said, it was high leverage moments. That was a third down, short yardage. The Commanders are 8 of 15 on third down, 3 of 5 on fourth down. Huge executions on fourth down too. The touchdown, I looked up next gen stats. You can kind of see whether they were good decisions or not on every fourth down, and one of them was a toss up, so it was more of an aggressive decision. Others all leaned were go for it for the Commanders. They did kick a field goal on 4th and 4 in the third quarter that was a recommended go for it, so they could have had one more, which would have really just cranked it up. But if you haven't watched one Commanders game this season, which I highly doubt because they have a huge fan base, NFC East team, have won games in the past. But that was a Commanders game in a nutshell right there. That was just a bunch of third downs, some huge fourth down plays. Jayden Daniels with some clutch moments, some nice scrambles and runs. I just really thought that was a nice, solid Commanders performance, and then just Bucs just shot themselves in the foot. They were moving the ball fine. They just couldn't get over the hump. Like, they just couldn't get to that, like, put them away. And I think that fumble at the end was just like the epitome of it.
Yeah. There was a point I think it was like halfway through the third quarter, the Commanders had hit 10 third down attempts. And they had hit 6 of them. So 60% third down rate. And their average distance on those third downs was 11 yards. So they're averaging 3rd and 11, and they're hitting at a 60% rate. And that did, like, they did have some better performance in the fourth quarter on first, second down, because their average for the game came out to like 7.7. So, they had some better, just not running to a brick wall on first, second down, like the kind of word to start the game. But man, it's still kind of crazy to see this third down performance, all these high leverage downs where you got to have it, just kind of continue to go in their favor. And now they're going to need that against Detroit next week, because I'm sure that the defense is going to be maybe in hell. Yeah.
It's going to be a lot. I mean, I didn't even realize this. Bucs only ran 44 plays.
Yeah,
they only had 7 drives. That's that. I mean, Commanders had some long drives. When you get a lot of third downs and fourth downs, that means you're having some long drives. And that's how that game kind of felt. Daniels just had so many plays where he's slithering out. The Bucs were running. You're getting to the next level stuff sometimes where the Bucs are running mirror. The Collinsworth actually did point out, he's like, oh, it's a double spy. And I'll talk about this kind of coverage later with the Bills and Broncos game, but they mirrored, which is just spy. And because of that, no one had leverage on the inside. And so Daniels was able to hit a lot of throws over the middle, like where guys were breaking on the inside. So it was just man coverage with nobody helping on the inside. So it was kind of nice execution. Then they're getting to that because he's not breaking out of the pocket. He's actually hanging in the pocket. So it's good stuff. But yeah, like you said, Commanders move on, play the Lions. That game is on Saturday night, 8 Eastern. Ford Field will be rocking. That'll be a fun one. All right. We'll have plenty of time to break that game down, but we'll be moving on to the afternoon NFC game on Sunday. Packers, Eagles. This one in Philly, not Brazil. Eagles kind of felt like they kind of really controlled this one, other than maybe like a little like 6-minute stretch. It felt like in the second half, but like, yeah, Eagles kind of really controlled this one. It started with a bang. The opening kickoff was fumbled after a big hit on the opening kickoff. Actually, the Packers special teams were kind of woeful the whole day, missed field goal. I thought actually their whole field goal unit, I didn't check out the EPA on it, but they couldn't get anything on their kickoff return unit the whole day. That felt like just such an advantage for the Eagles. Packers defense stepped up, made it a slog, especially against the pass. Really didn't feel like the Eagles passed the ball much, but Charles, watching this game that the Eagles won 22-10, actually ended up winning double digits. Felt like it should have been a single digit loss, but maybe that's because I thought the Packers might win outright. But that looked right away, the first couple drives, I was like, oh God, that prediction looks horrid. But what were your thoughts on this game, Charles?
I mean, it was kind of a weird game because like you said, it started off It started off so crazy. You get the fumble on the first play. They're in the end zone a few plays later. You're down 7-0, and you were expecting to start the game with the ball. Like, you're down 7-0 before you can blink. And it just doesn't, it didn't really feel like they ever really recovered from that. But at the same time, I didn't really think that the Eagles ever really grabbed control of the game like they could have. Because that's what Tony Romo was saying at halftime. I agree with him. He was like, man, like you're only down 10, but it feels like you're down by 50 points. And that's because they just kept shooting themselves in the foot. And I thought that like this was kind of interesting. If you take off the Eagles' first drive, where they got it in short yardage, or short field and scored a touchdown, and you just look at like their 4 drives that each team had when leading up into halftime after each of their first drives. The Eagles, they had an EPA per play on their next 4 drive of minus 0.3. The Packers were at minus 0.24. There was the Eagles
stopwatch.
Yeah, stopwatch. The Eagles they averaged 1 play per drive that came with like positive EPA. So, dude, they were both kind of in a rut for a while, but it was just one of those games where like a 10-point deficit was a little bit too much. And the Packers, I don't know if they got in their head. Like, dude, that interception that Jordan Love threw to Zach Bond, I was just like, I don't really know what was going on there. They were really sloppy, but I don't really think the Eagles played their best game either. It was kind of weird watching what felt like a blowout when neither team really played all that well, except the Eagles defense came to play. They kicked ass.
That's the thing is like the Eagles have the stuff, like a lot of the like factors, hidden things that like make like a champ, make a contender. They can run the ball, they can stop the run, they can stop explosive passes. It's just, can they gain explosive passes? Like that is like it's, and sometimes they can. And then sometimes it looks like today where it's just kind of a slog. And it's like, that's why it's like they have a lot of the things that you need to be a championship team. It's just sometimes they don't. And it just makes you feel like when you watch this game today. But I thought the Packers couldn't get anything going on the ground, which they're not the most explosive run game. Maybe the receiver runs, but they can usually just get a lot of jabs in there, and Josh Jacobs can kind of just keep at it. He had the one bully run that was pretty cool in the red zone.
He was running his ass off tonight.
He was. Today, but they just couldn't get any movement. It felt really need to watch. It just felt like everything was squished. I needed edgy is a term my dad would always use, and that's what it felt. It felt very edgy. Whenever they try to pull somebody, it just felt like somebody would get upfield, and that would just kind of make Jacobs have to cut early, which never what you want. You want everything going downhill. Yeah. Packers finished with 29% rushing success rate, second lowest of the season. Only one explosive run, their lowest explosive run rate of the season. And then the other things, the explosive passes. Love, we kind of thought this. We were like, can they maybe hit him downfield? Eagles are very good at stopping deep passes, and it was, they shut that down. Oh yeah. 3 for 11, 58 yards, 3 interceptions on throws of 10 or more air yards. The Darius Slay, he tested Darius Slay, and Slay turned around, made a nice pick. You pointed out the Zach Bond one, that interception as well. But it was, the Eagles defense, like you said, came to play.
Yeah, those the rushing success rate number is funny because I thought that, given what was put in front of him, I thought Josh Jacobs played a damn good game today. Yeah. Because
that's an O-line stat.
Right. That was an O-line stat. Because man, he was dragging guys, it's the toughest 2 yards, most elusive 3-yard runs that you've seen in that game. But Elton Jenkins got hurt, the Packers starting guard. Then his backup came in and he was so bad that he got benched. So like you're shuffling through this against a front that you really can't afford to shuffle your offensive line. Once you're down to like your third string guy against what the Eagles have, it was just a little bit too much for them to overcome. But I still am a little worried about like where the Eagles offense is after this game because I know Jalen Hurts, he had the high completion percentage, but they just seem to tick off. I don't know if the Packers were like doing anything to kind of slow them down, but overall, like this was not even their best game. And I felt like at the end, they got lucky because they were still up, but it didn't really seem like this is one of those games where they were going to be able to sustain drives and score a whole bunch of points because after that first drive, they only scored 15 the rest of the game, but that was all you needed quite comfortably.
The passing game got so lethargic, AJ Brown was reading books on the sideline, which we haven't ever brought up yet. That's how the ending of this game was.
No, all right, AJ.
I mean, the thing is, like, throughout their early stretch of the year and after the bye week, or I think it was the bye week, they Eagles became so much more run heavy, like week 4, week 5, and I kept going like they should just be running first down, second down, third down. They should never be throwing. They ran the ball 80% of the time on first down. And I think it's just them going like, okay, we have to be able to throw sometimes. Like, like this formula has shifted so high to running the ball. And I like, that's the thing is like you're saying is like, all right, really, even when it's so run heavy and the defense is giving you some looks, you still can't kind of like consistently take advantage of it with an offensive line that blocks for almost 7 seconds on a touchdown. That was the longest. I think Next Gen Stats said it was the longest time to throw on a touchdown pass. Oh yeah, drop back for 6.75 seconds on his 11-yard touchdown pass to Jahan Dotson. Longest time to throw on a TD pass from a clean pocket this season. But you have 2 Pro Bowl caliber receivers and everything, and you just still can't get anything going. Dallas Goedert is using a defensive back as a shield as he runs into the end zone. Like that those are your weapons. You still can't get anything going through the passing game. Split safety seems to give Hurts issues now. They were getting a lot of single high looks, and that's where you do those bombs to Devontae Smith and AJ Brown are just gone from this offense, which we thought maybe the Packers run some too high stuff, but that's just, you're not getting any more easy looks like that. And that's even with Saquon Barkley going for whatever 45% rushing success rate today or whatever you want for it today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought this was a squish fest from Fangio and the Eagles defense, and then just enough from the Eagles offense.
Yeah. There is a funny, I think, like hardcore, which if you watch the game, it's obvious, like a hardcore red alert pass rush Packers. We got to fix his pass rush stat from this game. Jalen Hurts, he had an average, according to True Media PFF stats, according to them, he had an average time to throw of 3.4 seconds tonight, but he's only pressured on 25% of his dropbacks. It's like, if you're at 3.4, bro, like you're usually like that's kind of like where Lamar kind of will be sometimes. And he's getting pressure, but he's dealing with it. And the Packers, man, like sometimes it's bad when you can't even like tell if it's a must rush, or you can't tell like
right.
because they're not gaining any ground anytime,
or they're getting stonewalled. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's I think it's a great point. No,
that was bad.
That's a great point. That they didn't get a quick pressure the entire night. So the Next Gen Stats will chart pressures and then quick pressures, which, quick pressures like, all right, insta wins. Yeah, Packers didn't get a single one the entire night. The Packers offensive line, so the Eagles got 8 quick pressures the entire night. So like, again, that felt like the difference too. Love performed pretty well against pressure. He went 7 of 9 for 100 yards. Hurts went 3 of 9 for 23 yards against pressure, but it's like, that's normal pressure. That wasn't the quick pressures that actually get the kind of explosive plays for the defense. So yeah. Where do you think, Packers kind of go from here? The youngest team in the NFL, decent amount of cap space. We'll have plenty of time to deep dive into it more, but what do you think they need right now? Like instant reactions.
Fat guys. Like because we were talking last week, and the reason why I picked the Eagles to win the game because I didn't think they had like the skill player star power to kind of get it done. But man, they got their ass whipped up front, and they probably need to address that. I know, you're going to need to get Jordan Morgan back in the lineup at some point. Hopefully, his Eldon Jenkins injury isn't serious. So like there are some answers there on the roster, hopefully, but you're probably going to need to add somebody. I mean, you can't just run it back after something like that, after your season ends like that. And they obviously need to get more pass rush up front. The LVN pick, Lucas Van Ness, probably a whiff. Rashawn Gary's been up or down this year, and the rest of the guys, they just don't really have all that much.
Yeah, that's kind of they're losing their center, or the center's a free agent. They have some cap space, like they have options. They're going to address the trenches. They kind of always, that's kind of the Packers' way, anyways. But they need these guys to be, especially on defense, to be impacting. Like most of the pass rush comes from like backup defensive tackles. It's like you need your starting edges to be your consistent pressure guys. You can't just be getting like these dialed up stuff. No, I'm with you. I think the Packers are an interesting team. I had them as as my Super Bowl pick preseason. That kind of tapered off as the season went along. I really like where they're at in a lot of spots. I think receiver wise, they really need to figure out a pecking order. Man coverage can't stifle them like this. like where you see throughout the whole season. Like they have to figure that out. Love has to build on consistency. Can't have just some of the misses. Like he had some misses in the end zone. His highs are as good as anybody.
Yeah.
I'm still excited about his future. But they need big guys, like you said. Eagles take on the winner of the Vikings and the Rams. They play Sunday at 3 Eastern. That'll be exciting to preview. Some cool offenses in that one. We are going to be taking our first break. And then we'll be coming back with some AFC games.
Introducing Daily Draw, the latest free-to-play game from Yahoo Sports. Daily Draw gives you a pack of 6 prediction cards every day based on the day's biggest sporting event. Download or update the Yahoo Sports app on the Apple App Store or Google Play and join the action with Daily Draw today.
All right, we are back to Sunday morning on Football 301's fifth quarter. Broncos, Bills. Bills take this one 31-7. I mean, it was a great first drive for the Broncos. And I was like, okay, yeah, Sean Payton's going to have some stuff in this first quarter. Maybe they can stack up the lead. Maybe defense can go. And then the Bills just took it from there. 471 total yards for the Bills. Over 200 yards rushing, 200 yards passing. They pulled the Urban Meyer. Remember, Urban Meyer said that was his goal in every NFL game was that 200, 200.
It was 250, actually. It
was 250, 250?
250, yeah.
Maybe when he had Percy Harvin.
Yeah.
26 first downs, including 14 rushing first downs. Broncos had 13 total first downs the entire day, over 50% rushing, passing, and overall success rates, which is going to signify a good day at the office. Bills ran 72 plays to the Broncos 42. Josh Allen, 272 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 46 rushing yards, some awesome designs on short yardage that they use. Now it's the time to break the Josh Allen design run glass, and we're starting to see some of that stuff. James Cook, star performance. I mean, I'm thinking of him differently in my running back hierarchy pecking order. 23 carries, 120 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Curtis Samuel had a nice touchdown on a nice little design there on against man coverage, which I might talk about in a sec. Khalil Shakir, 60 yards. Ty Johnson with an awesome catch in the back of the end zone on a sick throw from Josh Allen, 43 yards in the air. Bo Nix for the Broncos finished with a passing touchdown and 43 rushing yards. He had some nice scrambles late. They really couldn't get anything on the ground. Troy Franklin caught that early touchdown, had some other mistakes though. Charles, what are your thoughts from this game as I just listed stat after stat that were very Bills heavy?
Got out of hand quick, man. Got out of hand quick. I mean, you have the first drive, right?
You can hang your hat on it.
Yeah, you can hang your hat on that scripted first drive. 5 plays, 40 yards, bomb for a touchdown. You looked like, you were ready to play, and then never scored again. Outside of that first drive, the Broncos they have 70 yards and a touchdown on the first drive. On the second drive, on all of their other drives after that, they had 154 total yards, no points. 57% of those drives did not even get a first down. Contrary, the Bills, who scored 3 points on their first drive, after their first drive, they had 412 yards, 6.8 yards per play, 11.2 net yards per pass attempt, and 4 points per drive. So, and they didn't have any drives not get a first down after their first drive. So I guess every drive they had this game got at least 1 first down, which is you're rolling like a machine. It's funny because we were talking about this before with the previous show, and we rewound the clock back to the Ravens Broncos game where it was kind of a similar thing going into it.
You brought it up, and that was in my head as soon as you said that. That was my head the entire time I watched this game. This is the exact same thing that happened before that game.
Because we were talking about it where it's like, man, Ravens are good, but the Broncos defense is legit. 9.5 points. That's crazy. And then they get stampeded 41-10. Yep. And then this one, a little less confident that they would actually step up. But man, like they got railroaded again on the ground. So this is still a good defense, but I guess their big flaw probably is just defending an elite run game because they got absolutely stampeded both games against the Ravens and the Bills. But I mean, at least you're close. You're still. I still don't think they're all that far away. I would love to see like what this defense looks like when Riley Moss gets back to full health, because he wasn't the same when he got back from injury. I don't think like the early start to the season for him was like a mirage or anything. It's just we'll just see what happens when he gets some time in the offseason to heal. So that's a really tough loss if you're Denver. At least you can say you overshot your expectations, but it just really wasn't a competitive game after that first drive.
Yeah, it was there's Josh Allen, and like you said, they go against the Ravens. It's that's Lamar Jackson. It's like that's what the real elite quarterbacks do, not just the good ones or like good for a rookie or anything like that. The real dudes. That's what they look like, and that's how they perform. And a real run game. I mean, that's something that we've talked about with the Bills all year. It's been something you can kind of set your clock to. But it didn't matter what they threw at Josh Allen or this offense. It doesn't matter if they're running man, zone, like. This is what the Packers kind of want their passing game to be. It's like, it doesn't matter what you run. We have all these options. We have different tight ends and receivers. We have running backs we can throw to. But this just is actually what it looks like with a quarterback operating like this. But Allen went, 10 of 12 for 141 yards and a touchdown against the blitz. All right, let's not blitz him. 10 of 14, 131 yards and a touchdown. All right, let's run man coverage. Maybe we can get him with man coverage. That's what the Texans did. That really worked. Everyone keeps talking about that. 10 of 14, 202 yards and 2 touchdowns against man coverage. He ran for 45 yards, 8 rushes, 6 of them were successful. You can run sneaks with them. You can run pin pull. They run straight up pin pull plays with him. They're running. You can run between the tackles with him. Like they ran trap on the first play. They just ran straight up trap. But it's the quarterback running it. It's straight up single wing offense, but also that he can throw the ball 43 yards on the line off his back foot into the back of the end zone right on the spot. He's really fun to watch. And you watch these quarterbacks, and then the other quarterback in the game we're going to get to that also happened on Saturday, and you just it's a joy to watch him. But the Bills just had their way. They bunch of jumbo, 16 plays out of jumbo with 6 offensive linemen. They featured 8 different personnel groupings. So not just like 11, 12. They had like 3 different versions of jumbo. they had pony personnel in the first play, and then they never did it the entire game. My first note was pony personnel Bills. Like, ooh, interesting. Never did it the rest of the game. So just a wasted note, but I had to get it in here. Also, last thing, I thought the Bills defense had some really good stuff on third down. I brought up that mirror example from the Commanders Bucks game. Matt Milano had a nice play. It was like the second third down of the game. He ran Bo Nix out. I think it was like a 0-yard sack. But they ran mirror on that one too. And the Bills haven't really been doing that. So it's like, again, they have some change ups, which I don't think their defense is great, but they had some change ups. So I was like, okay, at least you're not just standing there and getting whapped in the face, other than the first drive when Taylor Rapp just stood flat footed and just like didn't move at all. Yeah. But yeah.
The Bills 6 line stuff is cool. I think it's interesting, like how much they actually run it, and that they're actually good with it. Like even today, they had 47% success rate on their 16 plays with 6 line on the field. So I am really excited about that like premise in terms of like just caveman ball next week versus Baltimore, because you're just going to see collision after collision after collision. But I think it's good that the Bills were able to just come out and I guess do what they were supposed to do. And you know, you're a real contender. The defense, they held up. I thought maybe Denver could give them some trouble. They didn't give them any trouble. They didn't score a single point after the first drive. Dude, the Denver rushing game was totally shut down outside of some Bo Nix scrambles. So that was a really, really good win for Buffalo.
Yeah. And then Broncos wise, I mean, this is a good start to the Sean Payton era. I think they were competitive in the second half of last year after the 70-point game. They were competitive the rest of the year. They had some really good performances against good teams, including against this Bills team. And then I think this year, even with some dead cap hits with Russell Wilson stuff, I mean, they made the playoffs with a rookie quarterback. That's great. We had 2 rookie quarterbacks make it. They only have free agents that I thought were notable: DJ Jones, Javonte Williams, but I think they need an upgrade at running back anyways, big time. And then Jaquan McMillan, their slot. So, and they have a decent amount of cap space, almost $60 million. They're about middle of the pack there. I just think they need weapons. But I think I like the line. Of course, I love the designs. I think Nix has played fine and does some nice things. And then I think the defense could do some little retooling still, but it still could be a good situation to sit in Denver. But then on the other hand, The Bills move on to play the Baltimore Ravens, who were the next game on Saturday. And it got interesting in the second half. But, I mean, that first half, though, golly. Wow. Charles, the Ravens won this game 28-14. They were up 21-0 at halftime, 19 first downs to 2 first downs in the first half. I actually have 1 first down stat, and then I know you're at this game, so I'll let you take it away from there. But this was the biggest or the widest first down differential, the greatest, whatever the term. I'm tired, and I wasn't an English major. I'm sorry. 29 first downs to 11 first downs total for the Ravens to the Steelers. That is the greatest first down differential since 2018 AFC Championship game. I think that was the D Ford offsides game. Patriots got 36 first downs in that game, by the way. Tied for the 3rd biggest first down differential in the game since 2002, in a playoff game, I should say. So pretty big stomping by the Ravens with 299 yards on the ground. But Charles, you were at this game. What were some of your thoughts on the Ravens winning this by 2 touchdowns?
Derrick Henry's pretty good, huh? That was
all systems go.
That was all systems go. And I don't know. I didn't really realize it during the game. But I have a first down stat of my own for this game that I wrote about in my column, where Derrick Henry had a first down rush rate in this game of 100%. The Ravens as a whole had about 80% first down rushing rate in this game. So I guess whenever Derrick Henry was on the field on first down, they were running the ball.
They run the ball. That's awesome.
Yeah. So 18 of his 26 carries came on first down. And of those 18 carries, he was able to get 148 yards, 2 touchdowns. And I think even obviously the 44-yard run where he just ran away from the entire Steelers defense was one of them. So, dude, it was just like
the 8th wonder of the world. Seeing
seriously
Derrick Henry run like that.
I was just about to say, it's like force of nature stuff because if you told me that he was going to eat all these carries and like still be fresh at this point in his career and still be able to run away from people, like he ran away from Patrick Queen on that last one, on the long touchdown run. So, man, and it just felt like
a lot.
Yeah, he did. He did do that a lot. It just felt like Pittsburgh, they had no real answer. And I know they kind of scrapped around in the second half. They hit a couple big plays. Like the passing game was definitely better in the second half. But you have another one of those games where it's like, Russ has, you look at the box score, he's got 10 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, but he didn't actually score all that much. I know they didn't run the ball well. I don't think they threw the ball consistently, obviously not in the first half. And then just to see how well and how dominant Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson were, on their first 3 drives, they ran 32 plays. 24 of them were rushing attempts. There were some scrambles mixed in there, but I even asked Lamar after the game. I was like, "Yo, Lamar and Harbaugh both said this. Like, were you guys expecting to run that much, like to start the game?" And they said, "No." But sometimes if they can't stop
ride the wave,
right? So just keep rolling. That was it was also just cool to see even like some of the variations I think that they brought up that we hadn't seen, like the Wildcat run that everyone went crazy on, where he just ran over Minka Fitzpatrick. Like if they're going to start pulling out stuff from the run game that we haven't seen, that's pretty scary for their opponents moving forward. And Lamar Jackson had another great game throwing the ball too. I thought he missed like 1 or 2 passes. The touchdown pass to Rashad Bateman in the back of the end zone was crazy. Even the touchdown, the short touchdown pass, I think it was to Justice Hill, like right before halftime, to put up 21-0. Where Harbaugh said when he was watching that play live, he was like, "Please don't just dirt it. Let's kick the field goal." And then Lamar stayed up. Next thing you know, it's a touchdown. So sometimes great players just do really, really great things. I don't really know if the Steelers did anything wrong as far as their approach. They just kind of got their ass kicked this week, especially on defense.
Yeah, great players. That Lamar, I felt like his pocket movement was really exceptional as well. Like there's a lot of plays where he's running through Cam Hayward and stepping up and scrambling or stepping up and throwing. I thought both that he excelled at. No, that play before the half, that's such a funny one that you're talking about too. Just a little bit of creation though. Just like he gets away with some stuff that's because he's so exceptional. The Wildcat thing that you brought up, that was only Henry's 3rd Wildcat run of the season. He did that a bunch in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we don't see any throws yet, because those were always something. The little throws from maybe we see a Derrick Henry throw in the playoffs. That's this time to whip it out right now. I thought Patrick Queen got abused in this game, and I actually kind of gave up on some runs. There was a toss play to Henry, and I want to say it might have been a different drive, but it was the hill drive you're talking about. It was a toss play to Henry, and I looked it up because I was like, Patrick Queen did not move, and he didn't. His max speed on the play was 8 miles an hour. The only player slower than him, he's a middle linebacker on a toss play. You got to run. Like, you got to get going. The only plays that are slower than him were the left tackle and the left guard for the Ravens on the entire field. And I just thought his head was spinning, going every which way. The Derrick Henry touchdown, he gets sealed off because he overruns it.
Yeah.
And many people pointed out, but the Lamar Jackson gravity, and then you get Derrick Henry, who's the sledgehammer with rockets, like just going right. One guy's out of his gap. It's just over and over and over, and they just have no qualms with running it. And Lamar's taking 1 sack even when they get pressure on you. So like, that's supposed to be the Steelers' strength, is getting pressure and getting sacks, and they can't corral that. They weren't corralling the scrambles, which they're supposed to be good at. Ravens got into big boy personnel and just slammed it down their throats. This is my last little personnel stat. Sorry, before I'll pass the baton. 64 plays, 2 or fewer receivers, 67% design rush rate, 33 successful plays, 5.6 yards per play. 233 of the rushing yards came with 2 or fewer receivers on the field. Just absolutely bullied them. But yeah, it was something from the Ravens.
Yeah, the sack part about Lamar Jackson, we're going to get sacked one time. That reminds me, Roger Rosengarten, the right tackle for the Ravens, pitched like a shutout on TJ Watt for a good chunk of that game. That was really impressive. Because even we were up in the press box, like, where is he? So I started, where's TJ Watt? And I was like, I'm going to focus in on him. And Rosengarten had one of the better games that I've seen him play, because usually TJ Watt's on the prowl, making big plays like right when they need it every single time, and he was pretty quiet. And then I even had some people who were send me messages like, oh man, like the Steelers, like their scrape exchanges were so bad. I'm like, man, what do you want to do? What do you want to do here? Seriously, you want to spill it? You want to box it? Like, what you have 2 Hall of Fame players in their prime in the backfield. Like, I don't know.
And that's the thing, is that these teams that play each other, this happens when you play each other 3 times. The Monken, the designs on them now, they're like, they know that they're scrape exchanging. So what scrape exchange is, what Charles was talking about, is the defensive end on a zone read or a quarterback read play, defensive end crashes on the running back, and then a linebacker scrapes over the top to then play the quarterback. So you're baiting the zone read so the quarterback keeps it. They got him once, I think, on it. I might be misremembering. But then it was just there was a play where they put the running back in motion on like a spin motion, and the Steelers wanted Wilson to be the scrape guy, and it messed up with which linebackers in which spot. And Lamar just keeps it because then nobody exchanges. So like now they're doing stuff to like mess with the rules. And so it's like, oh God, now they're adding that to it. So now they're beating the beaters. And that's what awesome offenses do, which is what they are. An awesome offense. And I feel really good about them as my postseason Super Bowl pick. That's not the Packers. That was preseason. I want to give one shout out to Corliss Waitman, Steelers punter. Another botched punt, or forced a muff punt, I should say. He had 7 this season. Somebody looked it up for me. Lefty, he was a Patriot, so that makes sense. But yeah, just wanted to give him a shout out as well before I forget, because I had that stat written down. What's next for the Steelers? What do you think the Pittsburgh Steelers need outside a quarterback? Both of the quarterbacks are free agents. Their left tackles are free agent. Both of their running backs are free agents, and they basically just have George Pickens in the receiver room.
Yeah, I mean, one of the running backs being a free agent, I don't think it's a big deal.
I agree.
Maybe bring back Jalen Warren and draft another guy.
He's a restricted free agent. They should be good.
Yeah, like the biggest thing for the Steelers, I guess, you want to get Fatanu back healthy, because that was a big loss. Like, he didn't even get to play this season. Yeah, the first round pick from Washington. And then, like, man, when I watch the Steelers, and like the few times like someone like Broderick Jones gets in the game, I'm like, dude, you're not that bad. You're just not like focused in or dialed in. It's just because he'll have plays where he makes some A+ blocks, and then you get like 2 false starts back to back, and you can't really keep them on the field. So like if they can just get healthy and some of those young guys like dial in, at least you have potentially some answers up front, especially with how well Zach Frazier played this season at center. But we all know what the big deal is here, man. You got to get a quarterback. Russell Wilson, it was fine for what you paid him, $1 million this year. That's fine, but you're gonna have to make a swing. I don't know how they do that. I don't know what they would even look at, what they would think that their answers are. So it seems like you might be in a similar place next year, probably with a veteran quarterback again. Maybe you can draft a rookie or you trade up for someone. But man, I just feel like they're kind of stuck because we know what the problem is, and we know it's really, really hard to fix their biggest problem.
Yep. And that's it. It's like when it's the curse of Tomlin. I think you said this in our group chat earlier, curse of competence.
Yeah. Curse of competency. Yeah.
That's what the Steelers are. It's like, because then they get these picks in the 20s and then they end up in picket range, and you don't want to be in picket range where you talk yourself into a guy. But maybe they can find someone, maybe a Riley Leonard on day 2. They take a dart throw or something of that sort. But like, I know it just feels like they're in the Darnold sweepstakes. They have about the same cap space as the Broncos, about almost $60 million. They're middle of the pack. But it just, they need still so much stuff. They need more pass catchers. They need them. Like we saw what this offense was without Pickens, and you can't even rely on Pickens that much. But yeah, this is what it's maxed out. You needed for this to totally work, for them to maybe push and maybe win a playoff game or even 2. The run game had to be supernova, and the run game had moments, and you could see the young guys getting it, but like the running backs, and especially Harris, they weren't exceptional enough. As you see these other attacks, they're so run heavy. So yeah, they need a decent amount, but it just kind of feels always the same with them. But man, Ravens Bills is gonna be juicy. That's gonna be a fun one to preview. Yeah. I feel bad for those defenses, but Ravens defense just keeps stepping up. We are gonna take our last break, and then we're gonna come back with Chargers Texans, who played at Texans time on Saturday. All right, last game here. This was Chargers Texans. Texans won this one 32-12. A scoregami to kick off the wild card weekend. And then the Texans are going to play in another Texans time in the divisional round. But this game, Charles, Justin Herbert, Greg Roman, I thought got depantsed. Justin Herbert finished 14-31 with 4 picks. Ladd McConkey had a lot of those yards that Justin Herbert threw, 197 yards and a touchdown, but no one else really did much. CJ Stroud had a wonky interception, but some nice moments of creation, 282 yards, a touchdown, and that pick, 42 yards rushing, most of those off some scrambles. Joe Mixon, 106 yards, and the surprisingly explosive Texans run game in this game. But I thought the story of the game was the Texans defense. But Charles, what were your thoughts on the Texans double-digit win?
Ooh, it's like the worst game ever for a Chargers fan, because not only did you get your ass kicked, you chargered where you scored the Ladd McConkey touchdown. You're within one touch. I think you're within one score at that point. After the Ladd McConkey touchdown, when they are, no. They only needed one touchdown and like a field goal to get back into the game.
Yeah.
But then they blocked the kick. Then Dicker like bats the ball down as if it's a Hail Mary attempt, and then
we had a 4-point touchdown, which this game deserved.
Yes, so they scored a touchdown and they were down 23-12, and then they gave up the 2 points. Now you're down 25-12, which now you need 2 touchdowns. Before you only needed 1. 2 would have been better, but now you need 2 again, which obviously they didn't score. Dude, they just got pantsed. I'm so glad I wasn't using Twitter during this game, because you got the bad Justin Herbert Island performance. It was just like a combination of everything bad. Herbert didn't play well. The offensive line didn't block all that well. You couldn't run the ball. And like on the outside, like you straight up got blue chip, dude. You're throwing Quentin Johnson at Derrick Stingley. And that was something that happened repeatedly in this game. Up. Right. So you just... this is kind of what I thought the Chargers would look like more of this year, this offseason, where it's like, hey, we're talking about Joe Alt versus Malik Neighbors. I'm like, who cares? Like you guys won 5 games last year. You gave up 63 points to the Raiders. not one guy is going to fix your fortune here.
Right.
And they look like a team that was still kind of in rebuilding mode. And it stinks that Justin Herbert's going to get killed for this performance, which, I mean, he didn't play well, but we don't have to sit here and act like he's some bum. He's the whole reason they even made the playoffs in the first place. So they have a long way to go. You got to fix the offensive line. Khalil Mack is considering retirement, and he's a free agent anyway. So, they're still in rebuilding mode. I don't think that this loss defines Justin Herbert's career. It was a bad game for him and a bad game for basically everyone not named Ladd McConkey.
Yeah. No, that's about it. This is your great first season for the Harbaugh regime. Your defense went from a laughing stock to at the very least above average to good, and sometimes if you looked at underlying stats, excellent. But really ahead of schedule on the defensive end. And we just know on offense, they need a lot of help. They need interior offensive line. Ladd McConkey is great. That was a great hit. Joe Alt was a great hit. But they still need more. The interior offensive line was embarrassing. It was like every twist, every game, really on both sides, because the Texans' interior offensive line was giving up the same stuff. But that Chargers offensive line was just one after another. And Herbert was pressured. He was pressured 18 times, sacked 4 times. He was knocked down 12 times. Finished 242 yards, 4 picks. Man coverage, they got swamped. 4 of 12 Herbert did for 54 yards and a pick, sacked twice against man coverage. Did not scramble the whole game, which is like still you want that little bit of something from Herbert where you're just like, hey, go. And that like go do something, go push it. And especially when your guys are getting swallowed up like that. But the thing is they had all those turnovers and there's 7 turnovers in this game. The Texans had 4, they also had turnovers too, and they still won this game as well. I actually was shocked by how well the Texans offense's run game actually looked, because I thought the Chargers defense would really make it a little harder, and they got some explosive runs. And I mentioned this earlier, but CJ Stroud had he had 3 scrambles for 42 yards, 3rd most scrambles of his career. I was waiting for a little CJ Stroud versus Georgia type of game, but any thoughts on the Texans offense in this game?
Outside the interception, I thought that was a good game for CJ Stroud. And like you said, Texans run game was able to get some explosives. Offensive line, though, still concerned. Khalil Mack whooped ass. They like you said, they just look sloppy up front. And I still find that drop off from the offensive line a little bit confusing. And we'll see how they handle whatever Spags throws at them in a few days in Kansas City. I think that will be probably the defining portion of that game. But you did better than the Chargers offense, which was just abysmal. The one stat I had left from the Chargers offensive side was they had a 24% first down or touchdown rate per play in this game, and that was basically on par with what the Browns did this year. So you got nuked into being the worst offense in football. CJ Stroud did more than enough. Nico Collins had a nice game. And I think that was good for the Texans to have, because I was tired of seeing people call CJ Stroud a bum. I know he's not a bum. I know he had a bad play, but this is still a guy who can be a very, very good quarterback for a long time.
After those back-to-back picks, Stroud pick, Herbert pick, it was just it just felt I'm surprised every social media app didn't just shut down after those interceptions. Oh, and then, by the way, the play that Herbert threw the interception on, that was the most Greg Roman telegraphed football for dummies 101 play ever. Sudden change after a turnover at the 40-yard line, no motion, static, heavy play action shot play. It was no kidding. That's what you guys were about to run. Yeah. Herbert gets pressure, tries to hero ball it, but
D'Amico versus Roman, that was a mismatch. D'Amico versus Greg.
Yeah, D'Amico and Burke, man. They flowers to that, man. D'Amico Ryans and Matt Burke, that was great. What they did. This was 3rd best game in terms of EPA per play by defense all season. So inversely, the 3rd worst game in terms of EPA per play by an offense this season, only behind the Eagles Cowboys week 10 and Chargers Panthers week 2, funnily enough. But yeah, so really, really great performance by this Texans defense. This is their equalizer. They can't run the ball, but they did this game, which is interesting, I do think. But they have a quarterback. They have a elite receiver. That's something. And they have a defense that's kind of really done this to a lot of good offenses. So it's just like they're a fun monkey wrench in this playoffs. And we talked about this, that they probably are incomplete to truly be a contender, but I don't know. This could be interesting against the Chiefs this next week, I think.
Yeah, I just want this to be a good game this weekend,
Right.
Like we're because this weekend it was a little shaky, but I do think like when you're looking forward, if you're trying to like spin stuff forward for the Texans, like the pass rush is very real, right? Like Will Anderson, he whooped ass in this game. I would imagine that he'll have like more success against the Chiefs tackles, and maybe that's how you could win. But I do find myself like at least enjoying the Texans ride of like, hey, we have like 3 real deal blue chips at least, and like Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, Derrick Stingley. And those 3 guys can all work in tandem to help us make big plays in the passing game. It's a formula. Is it like a sustainable formula? Probably need a little bit more from the offense, but
right.
Good start against a shaky team.
It is. It truly is almost like a blue chip formula.
Yeah.
Like we have the elite dudes beat them. It's kind of, I mean, watch out just Quentin Johnson getting swallowed up by like Stingley and Lassiter, like on those third downs. Like a crossing route with a pick route should not be with a guy that runs a 4.4 allegedly. Should not not get swallowed up like that, where the corner is working underneath and then gets back to him. Like that's just not like. But also, by the way, like the beginning of this game, you kind of said like Texas still a little incomplete. But this game started off 0 for 8 on third down. Both teams did. Like that first half was like, oh come on guys, like somebody do a little bit of something. Which again speaks to the Texas defense, but I do think the offense really came up on this game. But plenty of time to preview the rest of the divisional round. I thought that was a fun wildcard weekend, some fun quarters, halves, and games, some players, some fun performances, some fun shows right here on Football 301. I am Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice. That is Charles McDonald. Where can they find you, Charles?
You can find me 4 Verts, Blue Skies, where I mostly am right now. Check out my column from the Ravens game this weekend. And I'm excited. We have some really good matchups this coming weekend. It should be a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, it is going to be a good one. I know. We got a divisional round's always good because you kind of turn away with some of this fat, some of these 7-seed fat, and then we get to the good stuff. So can't wait to do that. We'll be previewing that on Thursday. As always, we'll be also back on Tuesday, me and Matt doing our show. Also, mailbag, send those into football301mailbag at yahoosports.com. We answered those on Thursday. A bunch of great questions we have seen. Also, if you want to jump the line, give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and leave a question there. And we will answer that in our mailbag segments on Thursday. Subscribe to us, follow us, rate us 5 stars, like I said. If not, whatever, just say something on Twitter. It's fine. Or Blue Sky, I guess. Also, watch us on YouTube on the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. Thanks to Brett and Stone and Madison behind the scenes. Thanks for listening. Back with the pod on Tuesday after Rams Vikings. That'll be me and Matt. Have a great day. I'll see you guys next time.